You were educating other people, or giving specific opinions for people that want more than, I think this is technically good, and I think the staging and the imaging is, there's a lot of people that can't gather a lot from that, and I'm one of them. Okay, so video for the new Sennheiser IE200. It is a 7mm single dynamic driver set. Price between $120 and $150 depending on where you buy it. It's got a plastic outer shell. It's fairly small, about the same size as the 6 and 9, which are metal shells. Let's go ahead and, if you like, comment, subscribe to the channel. This will be put in the magic wheel of super happiness and will be given away. One of the winners of a previous giveaway lives in Ghana, and he got his in about 8 days from Japan. So that's, the postal system is getting back on its feet finally after what happened for the past few years. Now let's talk about what this set is and what this isn't, because there's some debate online. Calando Hi-Fi guides and also Head-Fi. Here's what he gathered, and it's based on what the Sennheiser rep said. Slightly different drivers using same transducer tech. That's hard to kind of get what exactly is being said, but it says different drivers. So these are not the same drivers in the 600, 900. If you think you're getting a 600 for $120, no, you're not. That's not happening. I can tell you by listening that there's no way that that's the same driver. But I probably won't, but other people will open it up. The IE200 uses an acoustic chamber, so it's not the same driver, and it's using an acoustic chamber, which you've heard lots of times in advertising for Chifi stuff, because that's literally the space that's in front and behind the dynamic driver that is related to the overall tuning of it. Larger shell, smaller shell, like dampening material, can impact the overall tuning. So that just simply has a typical design, while the resonator, the 600 has a dual resonator design and the 900 has a quad resonator design. So it's a different driver based on same tech in a acoustic chamber that's radically different than the 900 and the 600. The milling process and the dampening, there we go, dampening, is different across all. The milling process in particular makes a lot of sense because it's not a metal shell. The milling is how they shape the inside. The dampening is part of the process of tuning it. So if you think that you're going to get a IE600 quality set for $120, yeah, no way. And they're not saying anything that would indicate otherwise. Having said that, let me tip back for just a second. My thumbnail for the 600 said I'm puzzled because I thought that they did a better job on the 6 than they did the 9. I thought it was better tuning and the technicalities were pretty much the same. While we're on that, this is something that I'll slap up onto the full screen. This is for you to, at your leisure, to stop, check, and go listen to. And listen to, I'm giving you the track, I'm giving you the thing that I'm listening to, and exactly where in the song that occurs, so that you can, at your leisure, at any time, go and check exactly what I'm talking about, as specific as I can possibly be, because this music is the context for this. If someone says something doesn't have good bass, well, what are they expecting? What do they prefer? That makes a big difference. That means everything, to be honest with you. So it's not the same as the IE600, really, in any way. Not the driver, not the milling on the inside of the shell. It's a totally different set. It is in competition with a lot of sets that you might be familiar with in Chifi because of its price now in the $120 range. And I think, thank God for QA and QC for this company, because if we're just talking about technical ability and quality of replay, I'm not sure that this is really one of the better offerings at $120. Not for my library, it isn't. Let's start with the low frequency, the 808 roll-ins, the drops, the deck mix stuff, Tupac, Pack Like Sardines, Kill Jill. The low frequency of this set is tuned rather polite. You can adjust it based on, I believe, tips changing. This is how I'm listening in this configuration, and this is how it comes out of the box. I'll note that if this was a Chifi item, people would be saying, oh, that upper mid slight dip is going to impact this or that. So I'm wondering if the same energy that is brought to Chifi goods will be levied at this, because I do think that it impacts replay, and I don't think that this is really an impressive set in any way. That tuning looks decent. It's not doing anything great. Again, the 808 Roland, it lacks energy, and rumble when it comes to the drops on stuff like Tupac, Violent, Kill Jill, Packed Like Sardines and Crushed in Box. The bass guitar, Sultans of Swing, the snaps, the pulls, and the releases on this album are lacking a little bit. So the rhythm section, basically, this isn't a set that's really aimed at you. It's more of a vocal set, I would say, based on its tuning and its replay. However, when we get to vocals, I'll talk about that. The drum replay for stuff like, basically, let's talk about drummers. Neil Peart, John Bonham, focus on a particular track. When the Levee Breaks has a very produced intro on the 4th album, it's iconic. It's very polite on this set. It's not like a mid-bass tuck where it's audibly neutered. It's just lacking in the energy, maybe because of the driver size. I'm not really sure. That's a specific track that you can go check and listen to a set that you consider to have accurate, good bass, and then listen to the IE200, and you might, like me, feel like it's lacking a little bit of oomph, which would be the authentic replay that you would get from a well-done home system or a time-corrected crossed-over car audio system. This seems to be lacking a little bit of the energy for the rhythm section that I would like to have. As we get into vocals, where this should probably shine because it's not in the low end, listening to stuff like Fleetwood Mac, where you've got 2 male and 2 female singers, there's a lot. This is really a vocal-centric album right here. This is where I expected, looking at the graph and listening initially, that the bass was going to not be overpowering. It was a little less. This has got, if we take a 10mm driver from Chifi or anything, a 7mm driver has, I believe, about 30% less surface area. That is going to impact stuff, particularly in the low end, and it does play out like that. Smaller drivers can sometimes struggle with, and sometimes you see like the old Belons where they put this giant bass bump, and you listen to it and you think that doesn't really have much bass. It's almost like a compensation curve to make up for the lack of surface area on the driver, in my mind. And this is a set that's tuned like a 10mm driver, almost politely, in this configuration out of the box, and is not really delivering with the low end, partly because of the tuning and partly because of the driver size, to this listener's ear and mind. That's how I'm kind of interpreting that. If this did the vocals really well, I think that I could say that's what this is built for. I think that the technical ability of this set is no better than that's my collab. You might think, oh, you shouldn't talk about that. I was so into this for so long and was so connected to it. I know what's in it. It's a Tianstimo 2 driver that was a $280 set that was loved by lots of people. So it's a good driver. It's been in other sets that lots of people like. Put it in a different shell that fits more people. It had some issues with condensation. Still sold thousands and thousands. I have a lot of bias, but I would be interested when people who have that set, and thousands do, to listen to this set and to talk to me using my library and say, I think you got this part wrong. I agree with that part. Like, I'm an adult. I'm okay. I'm not emotionally attached to that set. I'm glad that a lot of people like it. I think it's a great set, but if someone doesn't like it and some haven't, I don't take it bad. Use that set or another that you've seen on my channel and this set and come in and say, you know what you said about the vocals, I disagree, and I used your track and this is the part that I use. Go ahead and have a listen. I'm totally cool with that because you were educating other people or giving specific opinions for people that want more than, I think this is technically good, and I think the staging and the imaging is, there's a lot of people that can't gather a lot from that, and I'm one of them. I want to know, what song are you talking about when you say the bass is slightly lacking? I just gave you a list of songs. I always give you a list of songs. When I talk about the vocals are not that clear, I'm talking about Gold Dust Woman, I'm talking about The Chain, I'm talking about the sound of Stevie Nicks' voice and thinking that it sounds kind of smooth. It's lacking a scent of edge, authenticity. I guess the smooth is the best term, and I'm not sure. I guess that's what they're going for. I was expecting something different. I was expecting something that had technical chops that were reminiscent of the IE600, but not quite there because it's an affordable one. I don't find this to be anywhere near that set. As we get into something like Vivaldi, Again, it's like vocals. It sounds okay. The harmonics are all right. It's a very pedestrian and average set at its price range. Here's the thing. Let me drop this down now. This thing has one giant get-out-of-jail-free card, and it's a huge one, and it's called QA, Quality Assurance. People say QC. QC is technically what is after it's shipped. QA is all the things done before it's shipped to ensure that the product is matching the one that was before it, and 2 before it, and 10 before it, and yesterday and a month ago, that they're coming out the same, they're all the same, the channel matching, the tuning overall. That's quality assurance. Chifi struggles with that, and it's a legit problem. This Sennheiser doesn't really struggle with that, and that is such a huge factor. That's the saving grace of this. You see the graphs online, you can predict what you're going to get. The chance that you get what you see online is 99%, which is a higher percent than with Chifi. So were it not for that, I jump all over this. It legit does have a B-Lon type cable, if not worse. This is a really bad cable. It's made out of affordable plastic. I think a lot of this came from China, to be honest with you. And I think that Chifi, it's difficult to say that Chifi did so many leaps and bounds in the $20, $50, $100 range last year, 2022, and then a well-known company comes along at the beginning of 2023 and not connect those two topics. Well, how close are they? To this reviewer, this is not quality of other sets that are in the $100 range that come out of Chifi. So long as they are matching sets that were sent to reviewers and to people that gave enthusiastic reviews with no connections or strings attached because it's a good set. The wildness of the QA in Chifi is its biggest Achilles heel. And companies that get really, please don't mention certain companies that people always talk about, oh, well, their QA is great. No, it's not. I know who you're going to say don't, because people jump in and point out stuff. Every company in China suffers from that kind of stuff. $500 and below, let's say. So a very average set, nothing like the 600, as detailed by Sennheiser themselves and other people. It's not the same driver. It's using the same tech. That's kind of vague. It doesn't have a resonator. It's using plastic shell instead of metal. This is not a 600 alternative. No, absolutely not. I can't believe that that's actually serious. It's not the same driver. It's not in the same type of shell. It's got a chamber like all of the stuff that I've done collabs with. It doesn't have a resonator, a dual resonator, a quad resonator. It doesn't have any of those special things that are the sell points of the 6 and the 9. Classifying this as something like that just because it's got the Sennheiser name, just a little too far in my opinion. And listening to my library and these moments within the library, Led Zeppelin, Fool in the Rain, Intro to Purdy Shuffle by Bonham, drums, etc. from 2 minute 24 seconds, guitar distortion at 3:51 to 4:53. All of these songs, moments, or instruments, and then the moments. Go check it out. Get into the hobby just a little bit deeper instead of looking at graphs and people who say, imaging and the what does that mean? Nail it down, pin it down. It must be my OCD and my Asperger's, but I can't grasp the vagueness and how many people accept it. It's your money, and you keep buying stuff and then you sell it. I guess that's the hobby. IE200, get some of this, comment, like, and subscribe, and I think I'm out. I'm out.